heard everything at this point. Jaylen Brown doesn't want to be in Jason Tatum's shadow. He's unhappy with the Celtics being in trade reports over the years, or reported reports for the likes of Kawhi Leonard and Anthony Davis, and obviously now Kevin Durant. And how does he feel about that? And you get the SMH tweets from him and all sorts of different things, liking tweets from fans about being disrespected in Boston, and harkening back to the days of getting, ownership getting booed on draft night when he was selected. There are a lot of things we could talk about, obviously, with Brown, and where we've sort of come to a head, or potentially on the verge of coming to a head, is with all of this discussion with Kevin Durant stuff recently, like our own Asherrod Blakely, who's part of the CLNS family, has the A-List podcast. He wrote an article, I think it was for Bleacher Report, about how, don't worry about Jaylen Brown. He'll be fine. He'll play through all this if he's still a Celtic when next year starts, but he's not going to forget it either. He's going to remember this. And then Jackie McMullen, the Hall of Famer, Jackie Mack, she was on TV the other night and was asked, how disrespected or how offended or how whatever should Jaylen feel right now. And she more or less said, oh, stop. Like, this is the dumbest thing in the world. He's a professional. He's a man. He understands the business. You're in a trade conversation. Maybe if it's even legit, you're in a trade conversation for Kevin Durant. Like, I don't think that's all that disrespectful. So how do we suppose Jaylen Brown does feel right now?
Like I said, I think if this team comes out and plays well, they will be fine. He will be fine. If this team comes out and is not meeting expectations, it's all on the table. And I don't think it's a case of he's upset about any of this stuff or is or isn't. That's a temporal issue. Depends on the date and time and what's going on with the team. Guys, they're allowed to have moods, and those moods are allowed to change. But look, this past year, I think Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum like playing together. I think they like the idea of being the two young guns and on the wing and leading this team and trying to win a championship together. I think that's like a really important goal for them, that they both share that ideal. But when they're talking in January about having meetings on the road about we need to do better, we need to get on the same page better, that means that they didn't feel they were on the same page. So, I'm not saying that there were things that were broken or wrong, but they realized that they needed to be better at that. So things weren't perfect even after the years they've been playing together. And yeah, they do need to learn, it's better for them to play off each other more efficiently than they have been, and certainly better than they did during the finals. So, all those things are in play, but I wouldn't make any definitive statement. And the last thing I'm going to do is try to psychoanalyze a guy of Jaylen Brown's intellect based on a 3-letter tweet. Yeah. It's, dude, there's 1,000 things he could have meant with that. And unless someone talks to him and he tells you what he meant, everything else is BS.
He might have just said something to record on the DVR and the thing crapped out. Didn't work. He was just upset.
Yeah, who knows? He could have gotten, it could have been what he read about that they, at that time, were ceasing production of the Choco Taco. Yeah.
Maybe he's just really upset that Batgirl's not going to be released by Warner Brothers. It could have been anything.
Who isn't?
Hey, Michael Keaton was supposed to be Batman in that, so
I'm legitimately upset about it, to be honest.
That's no joke.
Just because I wanted to see.
Check, please.
I just wanted to see Keaton as the Cape Crusader again. Now I got to wait for the Flash movie. Go ahead, Ev.
Well, my point being is Steve kind of brought up a point that he had in his piece a couple of days ago about how maybe one of the sources you had spoken to, Steve, that it could have been a way for Brooklyn maybe to cause some upheaval between the front office of the Celtics and Jaylen Brown, that his name has been floated in trades. Do you think there's a actual legitimate validity to that, or was that just an idea floated out there by someone to maybe just give some perspective on as to why this leaked out at that time?
Look, that's what a couple of people I spoke to were speculating, inferring. A couple of people involved with the NBA, like, they're convinced, hey, that was Brooklyn's way of trying to goose the market, trying to get people to pay attention to what has become a stagnant market for Kevin Durant. And also like, hey, and first of all, to assume that it definitely came from the Nets, I don't think it came from the Celtics, but to assume that it definitely came from the Nets organization, that could be off base as well. There are other people involved in this. There are agents, there are friends, there are all kinds of people that are involved tangentially in this kind of process. So, who knows? But that's what the feeling of some people in the NBA is. And there were people that told me, that disputed with me and have in the past, that the Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and a first-round pick offer was ever truly on the table. I'm not sure if it was. It's quite possible that was, hey, would you do this? But it's quite possible that it wasn't as well. I mean, there are a lot of trade discussions that happen of, hey, we'd like to be in on the Kevin Durant thing. Who on our team interests you? And they can say, well, Jaylen Brown and whatever. Okay, well, what would it take? That's not to say that Jaylen Brown was offered. You're discussing this, you're discussing parameters. And it's not like, will you trade us Kevin Durant for this, this, and this? That's a hard offer. Most of the time, it never gets to a hard offer. Most of the time, it's all, most trade discussions aren't even centered on a specific player. Generally, it's, someone from a team, and doesn't even have to be the GM, calls another team and says, hey, who on our team do you like? What would you give up for that guy? What kind of thing what would you be talking for that? And it's a conversation, and you find out not just on what could be a potential trade with that team, but also you get a sense of what your player is worth in the marketplace, so that if you talk to another team about down the line in a week or a month later, you have an idea of what your player is, how he's perceived around the league. The way that I find out about deals generally is, and I think we discussed this one of the last times we did one of these, was that I'll get calls from teams, from personnel directors, from GMs, just from people I've known over the years, and they'll ask questions about a guy. And that's how, like, I forget exactly what year it was it the 13-14 season, when I get a call, people asking me about Rajon Rondo. Do I know that there's definitely going to be a Rajon Rondo trade? No, but I know he's available. I know the teams are trying to get in line to get in on him. So I know he's not unavailable. And certainly at that point, that was after the Celtics big trade with Brooklyn, everyone was available. So, that's how you find stuff out. But things change so rapidly. And to sit here and say, look ahead and say, this window will be there if you make X move, or it'll be there if you make no move. I'm going to kind of go off on this again, but remember in the year that the Celtics, it was 2017, that summer, they signed Gordon Hayward, who was the prime free agent, right? And he was signed. He's going to go play with Al Horford, and he's going to play with
Isaiah Thomas.
With Isaiah Thomas. And this is the team he's going to, and boy, this is going to fit. By the time, he gets here, Isaiah Thomas is gone, Kyrie Irving is in, right? And then game 1, 5 minutes in, he goes down for the year. All right. Now the Celtics that summer had drafted Jason Tatum. The Celtics thought Jason Tatum was going to be good. They didn't know he was going to be that good that fast. If they had known he was going to be that good that fast, do they spend that kind of money on Gordon Hayward? No, they don't do it. They spend the money upgrading elsewhere. So, yeah, I mean, it's things change, and the moves you think are, oh, this is a definitive move, this is what you'll be. An injury can happen, or just someone getting an opportunity and taking advantage of it the way that Jason Tatum did. That altered your setup. Not only so when Gordon Hayward comes back the next year, he's not only not fully the player that you want him to be, that he wants to be, but you've also got some duplication of services. Yeah, it can be a strange setup.
So real reports, fake reports, exaggerated reports, I don't know. Whether Jaylen Brown laughs at this stuff versus it keeps him up all night every night, I don't know that either. How do you suppose, or how do you know how Brad Stevens is handling this internally?
I think you kind of, you go day by day. I think the last time I spoke to him was in Las Vegas during Summer League. I think he's pretty well relaxed with the situation, because he knows that, if he does nothing, this is going to be a very good basketball team. If he can find the moves, a move or two that he really likes, it can be a better basketball team. I mean, he left the season as an NBA finalist and added 2 players that everyone believes will help this team, and he did not give up a rotation player to get either of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's a good spot to be in. I still think they need to, either add another big person, or they have to hope that one can emerge out of what they have to give Al Horford and Rob Williams the significant rest that they need during the year to just not be overplayed. But I think Brad Stevens is in a great position. He doesn't have to do anything. And even as regards the need to pick up another big, he can wait on that.